This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Ah! Stop it!
Okay, it's ridiculous how adorable these two are. Like, for real, I knew these two would make a great villain couple. The fact that they are somehow giving the M&Ms a run for their money for the most wholesome couple in hell, that's just astounding. These two went from being stolets but better to being actually able to communicate. Fizz x Ozzie, or Fizzy as I like to call it, is easily one of the most enjoyable couples we've gotten in Helluva just ever. But for all the feels it's giving me, I think a lot of people are kind of missing out on some of the possible red flags here, as there might be a little trouble in paradise, as Fizz loves Oz, but from what we've seen, he might be getting tired of living in the gilded cage he's being kept in.
Today I learned that I hate going outside.
You won't have to again.
Like, that is a little bit concerning. So, let's just break it all down and discuss everyone's new faves. But before we discuss them, we gotta address the elephant in the room.
Well, I sure hope somebody picks up that phone.
The what?
Because I f***ing called it!
And I also have a sponsor. Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is pretty much an icon of the YouTube world. It's a legend. With hundreds of champions to choose from in epic turn-based combat, boredom will be a thing of the past with Raid. And this month, Raid has upped their game and brought some crazy new features to help make my life easier, as they've sent a substitute VTuber to help me explain what's going on. So without further ado, let's meet the professor.
Hello, students, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Death Knight, putting on my professor's cap with a lesson about Live Arena. What's Live Arena, you ask? Why, it's a new PvP mode where you can fight against other players in real time. Does that sound terrifying? Of course. But some of the best things in life are scary as heck, like Zargala, or going to the dentist.
So how do you feel about champions getting banned from Live Arena?
I hate it. I wish everybody could play. Back in school, I would always get picked last. This is just like when someone pointed at me and said, "You can't even play and your bones look weird." But you know, rules are rules.
Like, I did not need any of those personal details. Okay, how do you plan on fighting in the arena?
Well, everyone thinks I'll go in fighting, but nobody expects my charm. My best strength is the gift of gab. So when they try to attack, I'll just be like, "Nice weather we're having, eh?" Nobody'll see it coming.
Sounds about right. Thank you, Mr. Substitute Teacher, for that riveting lesson on Live Arena. If you're interested in joining me in playing Raid, now's a perfect time to try it. As of right now, for new players, you can get your hands on Stag Knight, one of the best epic champions around, as well as a skin for Stag Knight designed by John Tron. Just use promo code JTSkin before October 7th. It's as easy as that. Don't worry if you're not a new player, you can still get Stag Knight and the skin through an in-game event. Plus, in the name of free stuff, you can also earn free legendary champion Sung Wukong, the inspiration for Goku and straight out of Chinese mythology. He's made his grand appearance in game, and it couldn't be easier for you to get him. Just log in on 7 different days between now and October 23rd to get your hands on the new champ. No Demon Slay or Journeys to the West to undertake here. Just log in and get this awesome legendary champion for free. And if you haven't started Raid yet, use my link in the description to get it, or scan my QR code to get insane bonuses. We're talking an epic champion Drake and other useful things. Just hit my link in the description and I'll see you on the battlefield. Now, back to the video. So when we first met Fizz and Ozzie, there's always some small hints that there was something going on here. Initially, they just ganged up on Moxie for singing a soft love song in the club. We saw how they formed a very effective duo, hyping each other up and just adding so much to the song without trying to overshadow one another, as they are just both here to have a good time and to peer pressure Moxie into being vulgar, with them explicitly telling the boy that love is a joke.
Oh, you little bitches strum the strings of their hearts.
Which sounds fair coming from the embodiment of lust. The only problem? He's clearly lying. As the second Fizz gets hit in the head by a very over their shit Millie, Ozzie's first reaction isn't to finish his number or get pissed at Millie. His first instinct was to cradle Fizz's unconscious body, with the two giggling to themselves as they mock the M&M's love fest, only for the two of them to start nuzzling like they aren't in a room full of people. This was like the first real tip-off that something more was going on here. They may have talked a lot of shit about how love is for losers and sex is where it's at, but there was something beyond boss and employee relationship here. Initially, it was kind of just anybody's guess, like, what was actually the vibe. As on one end, you could totally see them just be evil friends with benefits, being able to commit crime together and enjoy the weird power imbalance that the Stolitz couple just was drowning in. At the same time, though, those cuddles do not lie. Something was up, but we didn't know what exactly. Then oops happened, and now we know everything.
Fine, Ozzie.
Oh, again with the horn.
Again, they are cute as fuck. So it turns out that this isn't just some lustful booty call, but turns out Fizz and Ozzie are in a healthy, committed relationship. We don't know if they're seeing other people on the side. It's a possibility, as neither of them scream monogamy, but this emotional connection makes it pretty obvious that right now they are both each other's primary partner. And you can just feel that every second that they are together, and especially when they're not. As we watch Fizz go out of his way to prep Ozzie for the day, with Oz proving that this is true love, as nobody's gonna tolerate getting woken up with an air horn otherwise. Hanging out, making breakfast, making plans, and just being all the right amounts of horny. When you look back at the morning routine though, you get to see more of the vulnerable side that these two tines of lust that they really can't show with anyone else. As we know, Fizz lost his horns in the explosion that took his limbs, and he very much alludes that they haven't grown back when he's talking to Blitz. So it makes it kind of special that Fizz, the first thing he does in the morning is go get his nightcap to cover up his missing appendages. This is important because even when he's asleep, he's still hiding under the covers so that no one can see him. But it really says something that the only person that Fizz feels like comfortable enough showing his horns to is Ozzie. The fact that he's missing them, these massive sign of pride among imps. The fact that he can sleep at night uncovered like that is just a sign of just how much trust and love they have for each other. Fizz doesn't feel like he has to hide his horns or any of his replacements when he's with him. This imp has the world in the palm of his hand, but for all of his fame and glory, there are very few people that really know Fizz, with Oz being one of the few that can see him scars and all. Some people may just think that Fizz is wearing makeup, when in fact his whole body is pretty much one giant burn scar from the explosion. But Ozzie's intimacy with Fizz makes sense as it's implied that he's the one who built the mechanical limbs that he's wearing. We've seen that he does a lot of science in his job, which it's sex toys, but it's still tech. Even if he's not the one who built them, he's at the very least taken charge of being the one to help maintain Fizz's appearance. Like, the timeline is a little bit fuzzy on whether or not Fizz worked for Mammon or Ozzie first, as he's more associated with Oz, though he's more famous as Mammon's mascot. But given Ozzie's technical inclinations, it's a pretty good guess to imagine that Oz came first, and that he might have been the one that helped rebuild Fizz after he lost everything. He's even got a little heart on the arm for Ozzie, and a little symbol of the love they share. It's also just part of his entire aesthetic, but we're gonna ignore that for shipping. They are in love, and mind you, they are getting roasted by the media for it. As yes, Ozzie is the sin of lust, his whole brand is sex, sex, and more sex. So the fact that this man is in a romantic, let alone something as lovey-dovey as he is with Fizz, is pretty much one massive breach in the image he's probably spent years cultivating. This man is known for fucking, and the fact that he's actually getting romantic with someone is a little bit eyebrow-raising. This forces the two of them to hide their love and pretend that it's just for pleasure. No emotional intimacy whatsoever, which funny enough does make the parallels between them and Stolitz all the more prevalent, as Stolitz very much wants to be in an emotional relationship, but instead they're trying to convince everyone around them that they're not a couple, while Blitz actually believes that Fizzy knows what they are and knows what they want, allowing them to achieve that foreign emotion Blitz can't remember called happiness. Fizzy's able to do what Stolitz probably wishes he and Blitz could, but the two of them are too bogged down in communication issues to talk about what they really want in this whole thing. And just like Stolitz though, Fizzy being a thing is the other worst kept secret in hell, as they truly are terrible at hiding this.
Oz, I have the new shipment of...
You mind?
Like, it's not even that they got caught, it's the fact that they're living together. Oz has a giant painting of them in his office, where he has meetings. It's also the fact that this is Ozzie's wallpaper, not his home one, the locked version that everyone can see. Fizz's dog leash has from Ozzie with love. These two motherfuckers could not do a worse job at this if they tried. However, for as much saccharine joy I get out of watching them, I do think that things aren't as perfect as they seem. Fizz, for all of his gushing and how maturely he's able to handle the whole Blitz situation, there are some hints that he might be struggling a bit more with this ship than Ozzie is. As we see from the newspaper that the media is making a big deal out of their relationship, with the haters who wrote it implying that Fizz is a gold digger who may be after Oz's wallet, not his heart. This is in contrast to how it talks about Oz, who being the rich socialite and not an imp, is hyped up as Studley while simultaneously being prepped to be the would-be victim of the situation who got bedazzled by a, quote, imp. This happens a lot in real life, an unfortunate amount, as people have already taken sides and are assuming the worst about everything. With the newspaper even bringing up elements of two-timing, as it brings up Fizz's status as being one of Mammon's favorites, making Fizz seem all the more duplicitous. Fizz reads the newspaper and immediately tries to hide it from Oz, with him chucking the whole trash can out the window, as he doesn't want the big guy to see what other people are saying about them. Fizz is trying to protect Ozzie, but I also think this hints that Fizz may be more insecure about the relationship than he lets on, or at the very least, he's kind of concerned about how he's perceived. Ozzie is the sin of lust. He is one of the most powerful people in hell. There is like 8 people that can say anything to Ozzie's face and not get eviscerated immediately. Ozzie is a bit like Stolas in that he's used to having a lot of attention, but typically though, his wealth and status protects him from most of that criticism, with him and Fizz hiding their relationship from the media being more about his brand than any personal stigma that will affect him. Like, it'd be drama, but he probably would be fine. Meanwhile, Fizz, though, despite also being rich, he doesn't have that same free check from vitriol. He's already being set up to be the bad guy in this situation, and again, most of that's just from the fact that he's less famous and he's also an imp. But even though Fizz is also rich, he doesn't have that same luxury, as he is still an imp. They are the oppressed underclass, the people that the world of hell just will not stop giving the short end of the stick to. So the fact that he is dating Oz leads to him being the one to get most of the shit, to be presented as some kind of gold digger while Oz gets to stay up on that pedestal. Crim shows that some people are snickering behind his back and he might be ridiculed as the weakest of the sins, but most people are smart enough not to talk shit. And it's not just from upper demons. Even other imps are throwing shade at Fizz dating Ozzie, calling him a purse dog, implying that he has no autonomy and that he's just some pet plaything to Ozzie. And that's just the racist. Blitz is not much better, as he basically calls Fizz a sugar baby.
Well, at least I'm still actually working for my shit and not getting everything handed to me like some pampered attention whore.
Now, Blitz and Stryker both have massive issues, but I also think that this sentiment is probably not that uncommon with the rest of the imps. And this publicly leaves Fizz in this weird place where he has to defend all of his decisions to defend the possibility of an imp dating a royal, while also denying that it's actually happening. And even when he's caught, he has to make the fact that he's into Oz all about lust, and going on and on about how this is mostly a big dick thing, which no one is buying. But this, really can't be an easy position to be in, as this is problems on top of what Fizz is already dealing with, as the man is clearly suffocating right now.
Man, it's great not being in the spotlight for once.
More than just Ozzie being worried, Fizz's status as a celebrity has saddled him with a lot of famous people problems. He craves being able to go out and not have to worry about being in the spotlight, dealing with fans, or just the possibility of getting kidnapped. This is in contrast to the fact that he's still not great at being low-key. Ozzie is aware of what Fizz has to go through. He's used to being famous and knows Fizz isn't the brick shithouse he is. So Oz naturally worries about Fizz's safety, becoming a bit of a mother hen who fusses over Fizz whenever he leaves the house for something as simple as groceries or going to work, suggesting that he shouldn't do this on his own, that he can send an escort, that they should do it together, and if he does go, he has to keep his phone on him, not to mention the fact that he expresses some light disapproval that Fizz is even doing this whole Mammon thing. Oz isn't controlling yet. But given how this episode ends with Fizz nearly dying and coming back all banged up, I could definitely see that being a possibility for Oz later down the road, that he might develop some control freak tendencies as he is just so desperate to protect Fizz. As if he thought he was fragile before and in need of help, he's definitely not letting him out of his sight for a while.
Well, don't worry. Today I learned that I hate going outside.
You won't have to again.
Also, to be clear, Fizzy has way better communication skills than Stolitz, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that they're perfect. As Fizz goes out of his way to avoid discussing the whole paparazzi situation, he defaults to flirting and making cute faces so that Oz will let him go to Greed without an escort. They're pretty good from what we've seen, but there is some conflict avoidance here that, while not unnatural for a relationship, could definitely build up into something later down the road, with Fizz bending the truth to avoid touchy subjects like in the elevator, where he seems sad when Oz brings up the idea that he won't be able to go outside anymore, or at least on his own. Or that sad look could be set up for the next scene where he apologizes to Oz for all the trouble he's caused. But either way, Fizz is feeling a little bit constrained by all this media attention, and might be just craving a normal life. It'll be interesting to see if they change how they operate going forward. Ozzie seems to have said fuck it and isn't worrying about what his employees think anymore. They'll gossip, but they know better than to snitch. And after everything they went through today, he doesn't care what others think right now. You really can't doubt that Ozzie isn't just as smitten with Fizz as the little guy is with him. From the flirting to the snuggling, they are just dripping in romance. I especially found it funny though that Oz was just fully willing to give Stolas an Osmodian crystal, but refused to do it as he knew it was for Blitz and knew that Fizz hated him. He did it for his man, and he was ready to give away most of his money to get Fizz back. If that's not love, I don't know what is. And small tangent, I thought it was interesting that Oz is very much anti-love potion, despite being the embodiment of lust. Not saying that we needed any of those implications. I like how he thinks of it as a sport where one needs to actually have skill and rock and bod to win. But that does make me look at the Vraska song and reevaluate what happened there, as Blitz called her singing a goatish mating call. And I thought the implication there was that she was magically making her audience hornier. If this is the big man's take on lust, then I guess Vraska was just singing really good and people got horny from that, which is a thing, but like it does feel like a little bit of a retcon, as it just felt heavily implied. But now we just skip that so Ozzie can be unproblematic. But I love me a gentle giant match with a little gremlin. So truly, I was very well fed this episode. Like, it's baffling to me that these two somehow have equal or better communication and listening skills as the M&Ms. That is insane. But truly, when you see just how happy they are together, you get it. Even Stolas and Blitz, for all the baggage that's going on in their lives, they still approve and support these two together as they see just how happy the other makes them. There's no jealousy about what they don't have, only appreciation that it's working out for somebody else. For Fizz to have someone to be there in the worst times of his life, to have someone to not care about his battered body, or for Oz to have someone he doesn't have to put on this persona of hypersexuality and can just be genuinely in love with. While we don't get too much in-depth details about them, they are just pure wholesomeness. So to see the two of them put the pieces back together after a long day, Ozzie slowly replacing Fizz's damaged limbs as he gets nervous around scissors, probably still reeling from the experience of when he lost his limbs and his cybernetics were first attached. But he takes a breath, lets Ozzie in, and together they fix what's broken. I love these two. They really are Stolitz, but better. And the bedroom shenanigans must be insane. Thank you all for watching. This has been Sarcastic Chorus. Like, share, and subscribe. Remember to check out my sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. I always guessed that this ship was coming, and it was well worth the wait. But tell me what you all thought down below. Love you all. Peace out.